welcome back to Me Dark Presents Scary Movie Madness for another episode.
Woo!
Episode 21 now.
Yeah, 2-1.
We missed a week.
We're officially legal.
We're legal to consume tea because I've been sick.
Maybe it was a hot toddy. Why couldn't you just like let it be a secret?
Well, because we missed a whole episode, I figured we would explain
but now
why.
You're back and raging.
I'm raging. This is me raging. This is full rage mode.
You know.
No, I figured I'd do the tea to
levels.
try to just reduce the amount of throat clearing that I may be doing.
Please keep it down to a minimum.
Oh God, it's just been horrible. Yeah, last week I was in no shape to do the pod.
No, I knew it too. I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but this ain't it.
But no, feeling much better now. It kind of sucks because we had this lined up where we were gonna do this episode last week, which is because my birthday is this week.
Mark Madness.
Yeah, the Mark Madness, as you called it. Because
you're so against having like a good term for things. Like when I wanted to do trick or treat and like.
What was trick or treat?
Like when we were doing the eggnog challenge and I was like, oh no, treat or trash I wanted to do. And you like refused.
Yeah. Well, because I didn't expect any of them to be treats.
Yeah, but like,
I was like, they're all going to be trash. Just call it the cereal eggnog challenge.
Yeah, but in Me Dark World, that's treat or trash.
I also, you have a very creative mind when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like the way your brain thinks in terms of like how I can name something. But the way my brain is trained now, I think from so many years in advertising and marketing, is that the most simple explanation is typically the best one. Whereas like you'll come up with this thing that's, you know, the trick or the treat or trash, right? As an example. That doesn't tell the viewer or the audience anything about.
What do you mean? If I heard treat or trash, I would be like, oh, either something's going to be delicious or something is going to be garbage. Mm-hmm. That's literally what it's telling you.
No, I know. That's what I mean. It's not like it's a bad name, but I'm saying it's not direct enough where it was about having cereal with eggnog. That's what it was about.
Yeah, because the whole point is like the
same way. So yours is more of like an overarching, like if there was a segment, treat or trash.
Yes, that's what I was trying to do with it. It's like if we did something again like that, you can now bring back treat or trash.
Maybe we'll have to figure out what treat or trash is.
I could come up with like 40 of those.
Okay.
It's like 50-50, head to head.
Well, we do have a game this time. We've been slacking on the games.
But that's why I tried to make treat or trash. Anyway,
whatever.
I digress.
Yeah, so we wanted to do it because part of my job is the movie business and visual effects. So I thought, let's do some horror movies that I've actually worked on and helped create on the visual effects side. And then we wanted to do Leprechaun for St. Patty's Day. So I guess
killed it.
Yeah,
well, I guess technically this week is St. Patty's Day, so it'll come out Friday. Still works.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about the Leprechaun though.
No, I mean like we're gonna film this week. This one comes out this Friday, and then by the time the next St. Patty's Day, we just line it up.
You're behind.
I know, but it'll be fine.
So you still want to do Leprechaun?
But we don't have something else planned because that was the plan.
Yeah, that was the plan. WandaVision also ended on our break, right? So she finally becomes Scarlet Witch.
I know.
What did you think of that costume, the outfit? I thought it was dope.
Oh, yeah. I think that they did such a great job of modernizing it and fitting it in. And clearly Scarlet Witch will be my favorite superhero now. So
she's like my favorite right now for sure.
She's a badass bitch.
She's badass. Elizabeth Olsen absolutely crushes in this role. And it's amazing to see it because we went back and watched Age of Ultron again, or at least I wanted to, because I just wanted more Scarlet Witch. And I'm like, all right, let me just like remind myself of where she came from. Which was pretty much that movie, I think, is her first appearance. Yeah,
I think it's like she had such a not a small role, but like it was. She wasn't the key person in any of those movies, but now you're just like, give me all the Scarlet Witch.
What's interesting though is like if you really go back and pay attention to a lot of the dialogue in Age of Ultron, it does set her up to be a big character later. Like they definitely looked at it as like, let's just plant these seeds in case we eventually are fortunate enough to be able to do it. Because even at that point, it was like Marvel was big and all, but it was like they didn't really know how much time or how much of a leash they really had to tell these stories.
Yeah.
Turns out it's infinite now. Like Marvel is in they're firmly embedded inside of mainstream pop culture, and they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they took a movie and made it a show.
Oh, 100%. And it's even when you go back and look at all the movies now, it's like all the movies is just one long TV show.
Yeah, it's like Titanic going 3 hours and people are like, are you really going to go sit in a theater for 3 hours? Fuck yes, I am.
Yeah.
I would do it again. But now Marvel's just like, all right, fine. You want to sit in a movie theater for 3 hours? We'll give you a fucking TV show.
Really cool.
Hour a week, and now we've got a 6-hour film. Or however many episodes it was.
I was super impressed by it. What they did with Vision and bringing in the White Vision, that was a nice little comic book nerd moment for me. Also,
the play off of her brother and like bringing in different versions of him.
That upset a lot of people, but I'm very happy with the way it turned out overall. There was a lot of fan theories about this, and because people were
hoping for something
crazier to happen, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense for them to do that in this confined space. It's 9 episodes of TV.
Yeah.
Like, you got to let things breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, absolutely loved it. Very much looking forward to Falcon and the Winter Soldier this Friday. Like I said, we're going to play 50-50 at the end. Mm-hmm. So if maybe you missed that last episode where we played 50-50, or it's the first time you're coming across the podcast, essentially what that game is I make up a fake horror movie in my head, and then I put it against a real horror movie, and you have to decide which one is real.
And it's only funny because I'm really bad at it. So,
and it's funny too because there are some genuinely crazy names for horror movies out there.
Oh,
that always crack me up when I'm like, I can't believe this is real.
I don't even want to name any of them right now because it could just ruin it for a future 50-50. We've talked about it, and then people are like, oh, I know that one. You guys already said that one's real.
So theme again is these are movies that I've worked on in the industry. I will say I'm kind of mediocre when it comes to visual effects. I'm not like a master visual effects artist.
You're not working on Marvel films or anything?
Yeah, I sort of like stumbled into this part of my career on accident. And I just sort of like learned as I went on the job. And because I was more of like a higher up in the company, I kind of had to learn and take control of it because we're a small business.
Yeah, you were mainly like sound and editing. And
I'm big. Yeah, mainly an editor, mainly a storyteller. But I did learn the ropes of VFX as well.
But I think that that's a great adage for anyone listening to the podcast of like, where you start is not where you end up.
No. And you have to be prepared in your job when somebody throws a challenge your way, even if you don't know what to do or how to do it. Somebody's giving you that job to do because they trust that you can do it. You just have to figure it out. It's problem solving like anything else.
100%. Yeah. I think there's a quote from Richard Branson where he says, like, if someone asks you to do something you don't know how, you don't say no, you say yes and figure it out later.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I've lived my life.
That's how I've lived my fucking life. Straight up.
I also, I don't know if other creative people feel this way, but as a creative person, I always enjoy the challenges of things I don't know how to do more than the things that I've spent years crafting. Things that become like muscle memory to you.
It's monotonous. It's like,
they're no longer, it's not as enjoyable. It doesn't feel as creative anymore as something new.
Yeah, so you take everything you've learned and you channel it into, all right, I'm the expert in these things. You're definitely an expert in the sound editing world.
Yes.
Like that you could do in your sleep.
Yep.
Now you take all that knowledge and you bring it into a new category and learn something new.
Yep. And so the first one we're going to be talking about is called Trick. This movie was from 2019. Now, Trick, I actually did mention this movie in passing when we did the My Bloody Valentine episode because it's the same director. It's Patrick Lussier who did My Bloody Valentine, and he was the one behind Trick as well. This one written by him and Todd Farmer being the guy who wrote Jason X, that classic.
No, thank you.
And he also he also worked with Patrick on My Bloody Valentine. So these guys, they're slasher guys, man. Like, this is what they do. They just do these slasher movies.
There's definitely an element of this movie that I totally see the correlation to My Bloody Valentine. Like, I can definitely, like, if you were to ask me what slasher is mostly closely related to, not that we want to consider Bloody Valentine a slasher, but it is, yes, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of like you said, there are similarities because this movie follows a lot of slasher cliches, right? It is kind of paint by numbers. It's sort of just like pulling out the old Wes Craven cookbook from Freddy and Scream, because
Yep.
you know Patrick Lussier has a big connection with Wes Craven. I think he edited the Scream movies.
Yeah.
So he's really not evolving on that at all. It really is kind of the same shtick.
A little flat.
I mean, what did you think of Trick overall as a movie?
I mean, I thought that there were some pretty brutal scenes. Again, similar to my feedback on Bloody Valentine. I think like it just fell flat in the end.
Yeah.
But I think that there was definitely some good parts. And again, this just all makes sense that this is similar writers. Because it's just about where the story goes.
It's
and
like
where
they have a
could've...
template.
Yeah, it is. Like, and like, all right, instead of this, it's this, and this kill will be this, and you know, it's just kind of filling in the blanks.
Yeah, I think what kind of bores me a little bit about this movie is the choice to have the protagonist be the cops.
Yeah.
Like, cops to me are not interesting, especially in a horror movie. Like, I don't want to see
You mean like when they're forgetting to fill their car with gas or getting on the top of a truck and rolling off?
I mean, I'm okay with them being secondary characters like that, where it's like, yeah, the cops should have a presence where, you know, especially in a slasher movie where usually it hits like this one neighborhood and
it's
like
a small town, so the cops have to be present.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
They just give them a big role in this, but I mean, at least we get Omar Epps plays the main detective, Mike Denver.
Yep.
Weird. You don't see Omar Epps anymore. He sort of fell off and he just reappears randomly in this movie.
Yeah, especially because like he's usually like early 2000s, right? Around there.
Definitely.
This is like now mid, I guess.
And then he has his partner. It's not even his partner. I think it's the town sheriff. So for some reason, he's like this big time detective and she's like the sheriff, but it's like a small town. I don't know. I guess
you still need these things. I don't know.
Yeah, again, this concept to have cops pursuing a slasher, it just doesn't work as well. They do have, because I'm always used to the hero girl, right? And she's really the driving force. And for some reason, even though they keep repeating that thing, it's still more interesting than the cops. I would rather have seen that again.
Yeah, I'm good on the cop part too. It's just like, all right.
I kind of liked the opening, though, how they established the killer trick where they're playing spin the bottle, but it's like spin the knife.
Yeah, which is bizarre. But obviously, I think spin the bottle feels super realistic for what you were trying to accomplish here, which was like the kid who's getting bullied. And it's like, oh, of course it lands on a guy for him. Right. And like just furthers the narrative, pushing him to just kill everybody.
What do you think of the costume?
I liked it.
Because it is a costume party, so that's kind of a cool...
Yeah, it's terrifying enough. It's enough to be like a character in itself.
I liked it from the standpoint. There's two reasons why I like the pumpkin mask, and this is what kind of bothers me. It's my highest praise of the movie, but it's also my biggest criticism because I think they missed the boat on this pumpkin mask.
Like they had it with that.
I think they had it with that, and they try to do this thing where every year he comes back, he has a different mask on,
like different costume.
And I hate that. Like,
Same.
That's the worst choice you could make.
Does Mike Myers come back in different costumes?
It's the worst choice.
Maybe they like made the costume more quality over time, but some may even argue that the mask got worse over time, right? Like there's definitely a moment in the Halloween series where the mask was right. And then it was like, all right, now you're doing too much.
Yeah.
It's like, don't fuck with what is good.
Yeah.
Like keep it back to what you said earlier. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple.
It is, yeah. I think that is the best approach, especially this. They even had, because the mask that he wears, this pumpkin mask, is two-sided. It has like these two faces. So I'm like, I like that too, where he spins his face around just before he starts killing everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's great. He has this great look. He has this great shtick.
That's his shtick, yeah.
And they also do the thing like an homage to Halloween, which is just silly, that he only comes back and kills on Halloween, right? So seen this movie before, but I'm almost okay with it if you keep it with the pumpkin mask because I associate the pumpkin with Halloween.
Yeah.
And your name is Trick, the trick or treat with the pumpkin on Halloween. That ties together.
Yep. They were trying to just kind of, I think, show the evolution of the character, but maybe it was also about kind of the unraveling of the story, which I guess we'll get to, right? Like,
I mean, there's not really much story to unravel. There's some things that I find hilarious.
I mean, one part, I guess, then you can jump ahead and just say it's the unraveling to the idea that like there's these group of followers at the end, right? And so like the one mask thing doesn't always work because how do they all get that same mask?
I mean, I could buy that you can all get the same mask. They
yes
all
no.
wear the same face paint thing at the end.
Yeah, the face paint I get. I don't know. I'm trying to rationalize why they would possibly do this, I guess, and it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Well, no. Like I said, the story, there's not really much to the story to dissect. Like, he goes on his rampage here to open it up at the Halloween costume party. He gets stabbed by one of his classmates, Cheryl, played by Christina Reyes. She's like a proxy for like the strong female hero, but she's not nearly in the movie enough. Her presence isn't memorable enough.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. They kind of,
it's the idea of like not going far enough with things. Oh my God, I have hiccups.
Amazing. Great for a podcast to have hiccups.
I hope that just disappeared. Okay. Anyway, it's like they take the story, but they never go far enough. Okay. You know, like, so you bring this character in, but there's not enough of it to be like,
it's just her with her dad. Like her dad has been injured and in the hospital, and she keeps visiting him. And
yeah, it's just so
there's this whole backstory of like revenge with Trick. But again, yeah, it's so stupid. He gets stabbed. They bring him to the hospital. So he's been stabbed with a fire poker. And
fucking fire pokes.
They have him there, and he's like stable, and he's in handcuffs. Like, they got it, it's over. But he ends up breaking out of his handcuff chains. He beats the Omar Epps character down like right away, no problem.
Yeah.
And he just runs through the hospital and then just keeps killing more people. I'm like, oh my God, this kid is a nightmare. But it really doesn't lead anywhere because they still corner him. They shoot him a bunch of times. He falls out the window. One of my VFX shots, by the way. The glass breaking. I did the glass. But he falls out the window.
Wait a minute. Are you going to only point out like the scenes where you think the work was like really good and looks good? Or are you going to point out like, hey, these VFX shots I did, but they were terrible?
Oh, of course. I would do that. 100%. You know me. I don't pull punches. But yeah, he falls from, I don't know, 4 or 5 stories up.
Yeah.
Lands fucking face first on the road. Another Platinum Platypus visual effect shot right there. And yeah, by the time they get down there, all right, they're like, he's fucking dead. We shot him like 7 times.
Yeah,
he got stabbed with a fire poker. He just fell down all these flights and landed on fucking cement asphalt.
Smashed his face to 1,000 pieces.
Yeah, they get down there and he's gone. And there's like blood trails into the lake nearby.
Shot. He's superhuman.
But it doesn't make any sense. Like, how does he survive?
There's literally no chance.
No, impossible.
You can't even like sell this to us on reasons why you think he survived.
It really, I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane that this is a plot point, but nonetheless, this is pretty much how they start the movie. So you just know that it's gonna just be one of those dumb, mindless, like, don't think about this plot too much because it's not gonna make any sense.
Yeah, because like for the most part, like you either need to set this up as there's some level of supernatural action happening or there's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is obviously set up to be and feel very real life situation of a like serial slasher murderer like Scream, not like Jason.
Yeah.
You know, like Jason, you're like, okay, you're dealing with a dead kid
zombie,
in a lake.
Yeah.
Don't expect everything to be realistic. Yeah. But like this, you're showing me a bunch of kids in like, I don't know, high school, right?
There's no hint that anything supernatural is going on. Yeah.
And even this scene, there's no other supernatural part from this point forward. It's not like this was your first glimpse at like, oh shit, he's not human. Yeah. There's nothing else throughout this movie to suggest it.
Yeah, no.
Dumb.
It's dumb. And he evolves from like this slasher killer to like, he does like some, you know, fucking Wile E. Coyote shit with his kills, man. Like, he goes all out. I love the kill with the black cop. Mm-hmm. He catches him and he puts like that contraption around his neck with like the weight, like he has like a pulley system and shit.
Insane.
And he just jumps on it and pops his head off. Or no, cuts his head off, right? Because of I think that was one of our shots too.
I mean, that's what is the parts of this movie that are good, is like these, again, these creative, crazy kills, similar to My Bloody Valentine. There were some pretty savage
There are some pretty crazy
kills
stuff
in that movie. Like where
he
they
does
get
something
creative.
with a crane in this, right? The crane comes through and he likes decapitating people. That's like his thing.
That's his thing.
Yeah, so then randomly, we didn't even mention this, that Dr. Steve, Jamie Kennedy, is in this movie. there's your Scream connection coming back.
Yeah.
And again, like Jamie Kennedy, where the hell did he go? And he just randomly pops up in this.
So weird.
Now, what is the point of his character? Because I couldn't figure it out.
I don't know. I mean, again, like I was laughing at this earlier with you of just like, I don't know, maybe they're trying to just have those like little horror homages throughout the film, right? Like, and all right, Dr. Loomis, this is Halloween. He only comes out on Halloween. So now you've got to tie to like Mike Myers and like that historic, but like there's not enough use of Dr. Steve. Also the fact that his name is Dr. Steve. I hate it so much. It sounds like a bad children's book. Now we're going to meet Dr. Steve, kids. He's going to teach you all about, I don't know. I don't know where I was going
I don't know. It doesn't matter because...
But it's like that was the best thing you could come up with as a character was Dr. fucking Steve?
I guess. I mean, his name wouldn't bother me so much if his character actually
That's
had
what I
a
mean.
reason
He has
to
no
be in the
purpose,
movie.
and the best name you could come up with was Dr. Steve. It was basically like, Jamie Kennedy wants to be in this movie, guys. Just figure something out.
But that's just it. Is like I feel like he was doing them a favor.
I know. It's all bizarre.
Like he's in the movie going like, okay, I'll do this because... whatever, you know, I haven't been in a movie in a while. You're my friend Patrick. We've worked together in the past. I'll fill this role for you. But meanwhile, it's like there's no role there.
But maybe that's exactly, maybe you just hit it. Maybe it was like, hey, man, we just want to get, we
just want to get his face and his name on this.
In the film. And it was like,
I mean,
it'll
how
be real
fucking
small.
lazy are. Like, I'm sorry, but like.
Could have made him one of the cops.
Somebody gave you all this money to make a movie. This is what I never understand.
I
like
know.
when we get budgets, you know, that come to us for like, you know, how much is the VFX going to cost type of thing. It's like, why are you spending all this money to make this movie? Because it just doesn't seem like anybody cares. It seems like they're making it because they have to. Like, it's a paycheck. Like,
nobody knows.
Make a movie because you want to fucking make a movie. I don't get it.
Do it right, you bitches. What the fuck? These throwaway ass characters.
Yeah, but then they try to like shoehorn him in at the end where it's like he was part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? What?
There's not enough happening throughout to kind of be like, oh, all right, that makes sense.
Also, so now the reveal of this is that, and it would have explained away the crazy beginning with Trick like plummeting to his death and somehow surviving, if it did just end up being like the next year it was a copycat killer, and then a bunch of other copycats sprung out of that. Now it becomes like this cult of Trick where on Halloween we take up the moniker and we go out and kill under, you know, the moniker of Trick, and it'll be, you know, we'll continue this mythos of the legacy of him. But no, he's still alive there at the end when they do the whole reveal. He's just in a wheelchair. Which,
if he's in a fucking wheelchair, how did he get away at the first point? You're basically insinuating that he was paralyzed when he fell.
Yeah. Where did he go? First of all, it's been like 5 years since he fell or something like that.
Did he just go heal in a fucking back alley somewhere and steal some guy's wheelchair?
Well, this is what I don't understand. Because he goes away and a bunch of years pass and then somehow he's still at the hospital when it gets revealed that he's alive.
I don't know.
I have no idea. It's very strange. And then this concept of like, there's enough murderous people in this small fucking town to be like, oh yeah, I'll join this cult where I just get to go. Like, how many fucking sick individuals live in this town that they're like, oh yeah, this is okay to do?
I mean, maybe they're from like a town over.
I mean, you have this many people that are willing to commit mass murder and join a cult that has no purpose. Like, it's just like, we do this because we can. That's the response.
I mean, I have so many responses to that and why it could be logical, but I'm going to keep them to myself.
All right.
You think that
maybe I just have more faith in people than you do.
Crazy people in a 10-mile radius than you think? Yeah. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. This is like the equivalent of you and I are watching the news and there's a report that some kid in high school killed a bunch of his classmates at a party.
Yep.
And then enough people within this 10-mile radius of watching this news report go, you know what? I'm going to follow in that kid's footsteps. I'm going to take up the moniker and let this thing live on.
I do feel like, unfortunately, there's a lot of people.
Then that would happen all the time, Dolores.
I mean, no, because
talking about a one random murder report.
In a movie, that's like, you're just basically assuming in a movie it's basically like a lawless society. The cops are so fucking dumb they can't figure this out. Like, no, that wouldn't happen if it was a small town and all the people in the town were involved. You'd find out pretty fucking easy.
So let's move on to Braid, 2018. We're going in reverse chronological order for these. Directed by Mitzi Peroni. She is a young, aspiring filmmaker. She grew up in Italy and moved to New York to study theater, and then somehow was able to get this movie financed through cryptocurrency, equity crowd sale.
Insane.
The first ever movie to do so.
Full amount. Crazy.
Yeah, they raised $1.7 million in 2 weeks.
Crazy. In 2 weeks, no less.
I know. Wild.
Was it just on the basis of what this movie would be? Like, what did people say that they were, what did they say they were donating to?
I don't know. Well, and it's crazy because how do you even go about selling this idea? Because the story for this one is just, it's way out there.
Especially like the title. Like, I know
Braid.
we were saying like, why is it that? And I do kind of get the idea. I don't know that it's woven enough in, no pun intended, enough into the actual story and plot. But I think the idea of a braid is that you have three pieces that are forever entwined.
Forever entwined, yeah.
And that makes sense. And that's the deepest connection I could make to this.
No, and I think that's the correct way to, I think that really is what makes the most sense why they call it braid. It's not literally a braid of hair, but when you think about it that way, like how a braid is made, it's these three pieces that are intertwined.
You start with the main one that holds and the other two kind of interweave.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole thing is sort of disorienting and jumpy because you're not really ever quite sure what's really happening and what's not happening.
Yeah.
You sort of just get little suggestions, like subliminal messages even sometimes of like, for example, when they are on the train in the beginning, there's like these little cut-ins of like a toy train in a living room. So like they're on a train, full scale, and then it just cuts into like a toy train going around like on a rug in a house. And you're like, what is the correlation there? Is that like the zoomed out version is a toy train? Like, is there a real train?
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. Like, I just like how they do that throughout the movie.
It's like the Easter eggs of like what's triggering. That whole thing is like, all right, this is that image that inspired that dream sequence. So I'll use dream sequence. I
think dream sequence is a good way to put it because it kind of feels like that as an audience member. They're not dreaming, but in a sense, like you watching it, you kind of feel a little drunk or a little dreamy. Like you don't really know.
I don't know
what
the right term is. That's as close as I can get.
Yeah, it opens with these two young women. One of them is Petula, played by Imogen Waterhouse, and Tilda, played by Sarah Hay. They're plotting to rob a safe located at their friend Daphne's house. Daphne, played by Madeline Brewer. So that's the setup, is like they have this friend that's rich and they're going to go rob her safe because they owe a bunch of money or something like that, right?
So they're basically going there to relive their childhood and this game that they would play. Yeah,
they couch it to you in the beginning as that Petula and Tilda are the sane ones and Daphne is the crazy one who still lives in this house. And the house rules are crazy. Like, just to go hang out with her, you have to deal with her and play this game. Everybody has to play. You know, it seems like a straightforward thing when they get there and you're like, all right, they're just playing along with the game, but the deeper plot is they're trying to get the money. It kind of feels like that for most of the film, and then it like turns it on its head.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, like this is about what the game that they knew as a kid has evolved to, right? So like, this is a game that was innocent enough when they were growing up, but there's that incident that occurred with the game, which was they pushed Daphne out of the treehouse and she became mentally unstable, essentially, right? Like that's the kind of the whole thing here. So they think like, all right, we'll go back here, we'll play this game that she loved, we'll tug on that to get inside and get to her, but she has turned into like a completely like sadistic crazy person as a result, and the game has gone from like a childish thing where they thought they could just play to a pretty violent game.
Yeah, no, there's some and again, it's sort of uneven the way that they show the game. Like sometimes the game is violent, sometimes it seems really harmless and fun. But that sort of plays into like, I don't know if you ever really know what period of time you're at with these three girls.
Yeah, it's really hard to understand time in this movie in general.
Yeah. So they always play the same game called Hospital.
Yep.
And they always have the same roles.
It's like the fucking worst game. Who the fuck wants to play Hospital?
I know.
My sister. That's who would play that. Like as a
kid. You guys played Hospital?
No, like, but I mean, like from very young age, she was like very intrigued by like medical things. But like if she was like, let's play Hospital, I'd be like, no, we're not playing that.
Well, your sister plays Hospital every day now.
Right, that's what I mean. It's funny because like I would have been like, no shot. We're not doing that. Want to play Office? I'll type up some invoices.
Here are these TPS reports.
Yeah, TPS reports. Give me my stapler. But yeah, no, not Hospital. You can't sell that to me.
Well, they always have the same role too. Daphne is mother, Petula is doctor, and Tilda is daughter. So the house... Tell me about this freaking house. The house is insane.
It's like a museum. Yeah, like that's the best way to describe it. It's like, it doesn't look like a place anyone should live. No,
and like it seemingly Daphne lives here all by herself. There's nobody else in this house, and it's dark, empty room after dark, empty room, but like with all these gorgeous architectural elements and materials.
It's like her whole family died and she was left with all this money and she never left because she's mentally ill.
And I love it because it's such a cool backdrop for this trippy film to be in this. The house is trippy because it's like, it's kind of so vast and so sterile and cold in so many spots.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, just a perfect set piece. I feel like a great choice.
Yeah, agreed.
So the rules of the game: everyone must play, no outsiders are allowed, and nobody leaves.
But it's like those rules are a little iffy. Like if nobody leaves, that's like permanent, and that's what you start to kind of see here. I guess is like you can't have a game end with nobody leaves because then the game doesn't ever end.
Yeah. So they kind of do tell you right away that the game is never ending. Yeah. Nobody leaves.
Yeah.
And everybody has to play. So if you can't leave and everybody has to play, that means you always have to play.
Yep.
So, I mean, the fucking horrific scenario that's going on here in the background that you don't really realize the first time you watch the movie. I mean, I really like those interesting layers.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole plot to this movie and the way that they set it up is great. Like, it's unique. It's not really anything you've seen before. I mean, what was that other movie we saw? Is it Funny Games that I'm thinking?
Funny Games is wild.
Yeah, Funny Games or Would You Rather? Those are other kind of instances where there's like similar rules at play. You know, like, but as much as like, okay, those movies came before this, this one still, I think, stands on its own in a unique way.
It does. So really the first glimpse of them playing or the first scene of them playing, Daphne like makes the worst peanut butter and jelly sandwich of all time.
It's a crime. Someone should be calling the fucking police. Where are the police in this one?
So we learn a little bit about the potential savagery, the violence part of the game here, because it starts with something simple as like she makes her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But then it goes to like, oh, the doctor has arrived now and he needs to test your reflexes. And at first, Petula just does it with the regular, like, hammer.
Right. Dun, dun, dun.
Yep. Nope. Fine. Your reflexes are fine. And she's like, no, everybody has to play. That's what Daphne says. So now she swaps the reflex hammer out for a meat tenderizer.
Right. So again, this is where like the childhood wonder of the game has escalated to savagery. And we're like, no, I'm just going to fucking smash your kneecap like my steak for dinner.
Insane. Yeah. And like, writhing in pain, which I mean, I can't imagine what that would feel like.
Oh my God. I don't even know that you can brace yourself.
But then as the movie goes on, it's like Tilda's knee is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's as if it never happened that way. Right? So those are those little hints of like, we see them do these violent things to each other with like burns and cuts and stabs and things like that, but none of it ever stays with them.
Yeah.
Remember the scarring that Petula gets on, on her mouth? Like,
yeah. And then there's the eyes, I guess, right? Isn't it like the teardrop red looking scars on the eyes for the other one.
Yeah. But yeah, they never stay. They're fine again.
Yeah.
So it's as if it never happened. It's very strange.
Yeah. It's like, again, like they're playing these games and like there's these violent tendencies of what should be happening, but it's not actually happening. You're just seeing it as though it was violent.
And then we get this other weird scene where Daphne and Petula have sex with each other.
Oh my God, this is so weird. I remember watching this just going, what?
I don't know. It's almost completely random in the kitchen.
But I think that it's very interesting of what it was to play this game as a kid and what it is now. Like Daphne has elevated it to like adult versions of the game where like, all right, now it's like mommy loves the doctor.
Right. And this is like a sick fantasy playing out where she's going to have sex with with her child's doctor, which Petula is playing that role. So she pretends to have sex with, but I don't know. I mean, it seemed innocent enough to Petula at the time. She just went along with it, which is strange.
Fuck it. All right.
But then Daphne spins this on Petula because she pretends now that she's pregnant with her. Her
So at this point, you think like the game's
what a game.
over. Yeah.
What a game.
Like she reveals like, yes, you guys we're done. You're free to go. Oh, but by the way, I'm pregnant. And it's like,
yeah, just keeping the game rolling.
Yeah. And now the other two are like, oh no, we can still use this.
I like the scenes where Petula and Tilda trip out on the PCP.
Oh my God. Remember that scene too? Because we were like, whoa, this is wild. The visual.
I think that was part of the VFX that we did.
I didn't
really work too much on this movie. I had, maybe 1 or 2 shots. It wasn't, I don't really.
It's more of a platinum platypus team effort.
Oh yeah. Most of the time. I mean, we'll get to the last one, which I did a lot of work on because that was early on where we didn't have like a team of people that would, we would divide up the shots too.
Yeah, we're going back in time. Way back. Back into time.
No, those shots I thought were really cool where all like the greenery goes purple around them and it sucks like these other colors and shifts them to,
Yeah, because again, you're watching a movie that's
feels like you're on drugs.
Yeah, the movie itself is telling a story. And it is giving you the actual visual and the fantasy visual. And that's what I think is so intriguing about it is like you're definitely watching like kids play a game and the movie is putting forth what they are imagining is happening.
Their imagination is manifesting. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not a dream sequence. It's it's the imagination come to life as part of the game. Yeah.
And sometimes we see the imaginary side, but sometimes we do see the real side. So when you see
the scarring on the face, it's because they're pretending to slice her face, and she really doesn't. And it's like, oh, okay. So,
no, I think that's a good point. Then there's the scene that I was kind of confused on whether or not it was real or fake. It feels like it really happens when the cop interrupts them. So they're in the middle of playing their game. I think it's like Petula like pretends like there's a problem with Daphne's pregnancy and they're going to like operate on her. And they're in like the in-ground pool inside the house. I guess they have an indoor pool and all the water's drained out of it, but they got plastic everywhere like they're going to cut her open.
Yeah.
And then the cop comes in and they basically... they get the better of him. Daphne's pretending to sleep on the table and stabs him in the back. He's focused
on these other two. He thinks she's like passed out.
And her and Tilda just go to town on him. Like this is a truly horrific like looking scene. Like it's very bloody.
Yeah.
They're picking up all the like the medical instruments that they had from their and they're just stabbing him with everything.
See, I actually think that that's the one scene that's meant to seem real.
It does feel like it is real.
Because I think it's the moment where you are thinking to yourself that like again those two girls are there for just one single purpose and that's it and they're going to be out, but then this ties them all together in the same way that when Daphne fell out of the treehouse, it kind of reinforced the braid, if you will, right? And the connection, because it's like now we're attached to this girl for life because we feel bad that we literally fucked her up. Now you kill a cop together.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps you in this endless cycle now of like, again, this whole triad of like friends and secrets and things like that. So there's part of me that's like, I think this part was real, and it was like the true psychotic break moment of like how crazy they all are.
Well, yeah, because we do notice a shift in Tilda after this.
Yeah.
Where she sort of breaks out of her. It kind of is revealed that Tilda was really more along the mental lines of Daphne and really into playing the game and forcing to play the game. And she was just sort of placating to Petula's little, you know.
Right. But I want to get out.
Right. So at this point, you know, Tilda's just as crazy about it. And they just, I don't know, it just felt like that also paid off the no outsiders part of the game. Like to have that as one of the rules, no outsiders. I felt like you do need to show what happens if an outsider does enter the game.
Right. So you've
so
gone
this pays
through,
that off.
Everyone must play. Happened. No outsiders allowed.
The cop gets it.
Happened.
Yeah.
Now you have nobody leaves.
Nobody leaves. Yeah. So the way that they end up finishing this game every time is they all pretend to commit suicide.
So fucking bizarre.
In different ways. Like Tilda slits her wrists in the bathtub, Petula hangs herself, and I think Daphne poisons herself.
Yep.
But they don't actually do any of those things. That's the imagination side that we see.
Yeah.
It just then reboots.
Yep.
That's how they just kill off their characters and they're like, okay, we start again.
Yeah, it's like
infinitum.
That's, I guess, the only moment where like, okay, you can leave because the game ends when you die.
It's really a wild concept, man. I mean,
yeah. But you also can't leave
it.
because we see the whole thing of like every time not Tilda, right? Who tries to leave?
Petula.
Petula tries to leave because she wants to get out of this endless cycle, and she has burn marks for every time she's tried to leave, and that leads you. That's your first kind of indication or your clarification, justification, however you want to look at it. Of if she tries to leave, they don't allow her to, and this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, Petula just continues to play like she's just part of it. She pretends like she's not. Like part of her thing is like she pretends like I'm better than this. I got out of this. But meanwhile, she never really leaves the house. Like the train was never real. It was just the train set in the house.
She's in. They're all
that stuff pretty much gets confirmed.
Yeah, they're all pretty much like living this crazy imagination view of their life.
No, it's pretty wild. And I love how we end it too with we're flash forward now. Maybe another 25, 30 years in the future. And the whole place is completely run down. It's all dingy now. Nothing's really been maintained at all. And it's Daphne like pretending to wash dishes in the sink. And then there's the knock at the door and it's Tilda. And we just hear this voice say, "Hey, Mom." And then credits roll.
So weird.
So imagine it's like, oh my God, they've been playing this game for like
decades.
Oh my God.
Because like imagine being 40 and this is what you're doing with your friends.
That's insane.
Like your friends knock at the door and are like, "Hey, Dad."
She looked like she was maybe in her 50s.
That's what I mean. Like, I mean.
So holy shit. They've been playing this game for.
This is like if your parents were playing this game.
Since what, they were 11?
Yeah. Imagine your parents having their friends
40
over.
years of playing this game. Yeah, this is insane.
It's so
over
weird.
and over and over again.
Weird.
That's a horror movie.
Yeah.
Right?
That's insane.
That's insane.
That's insanity defined.
All right, so let's finish up here with this is my favorite movie that I've ever worked on.
I know you always talk about this one.
Bone Tomahawk, 2015. This one is written and directed by my boy S. Craig Zala. Amazing cast in this one. That's the thing that always stuck out to me when this thing came as an opportunity for us, and I looked at the cast, I was like, and I saw it was a horror Western. I'm like, we have to get this movie.
I mean, Kurt Russell, it's like that's as A-list as like a small,
I love Kurt Russell,
editing house job can get, right?
Yeah.
Like
he plays Sheriff Hunt, and he's tasked with organizing and executing a rescue of the town doctor Samantha, played by Lily Simmons, after she's abducted by cannibalistic cave-dwelling savages,
otherwise known as
troglodytes. I mean, that's a great plot summary.
Troglodytes is just insane.
Yeah. And they're cannibalistic cave-dwelling savages. That's how you describe them.
I mean, I have to say, as we go into this, like, this movie really made the best version of cave-dwelling, savage, tribal people.
Yeah, for sure.
That should have been what was in The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, yeah. These, in terms of sheer horror factor, these things are way scarier. This is what
walked out for The Hills Have Eyes, would have rated that movie a lot differently.
Yeah, these things are something else.
Yeah.
So we actually open up and our boy David Arquette is in this movie. He plays Purvis.
Some scream ties again.
Yeah. I mean, he's like a bandit or whatever in the wild, and they end up robbing some people, but him and his partner get attacked by one of the troglodytes, and his partner just gets gutted, but he's able to get away. And he rolls into town all fucked up from like this encounter. So he needs a medic.
Yep.
So this is like the most basic Western setup. Like, guy wanders in from, his hunting trip or whatever
shootout
with an injury.
Yeah.
And we got to roll him in. We got to get the town doctor.
Into the saloon.
She's got to get escorted there, right? It's like a whole big thing, like this Western life.
So weird. Did people really live like that?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Stop.
And like,
where?
You have to think, like, somebody comes into town like that with a big injury like that. And especially there's like this myth of like these cannibal cave dwellers that live on the outskirts of where you are. And you see these people come back with these injuries. Like, that's a big town, like, story.
What period of time was this?
Everybody's paying attention to that.
Yeah, but like, what period of time was like?
This was like sort of this was like the dying West. Like, the West is about to die out.
I'm saying in real life.
You're asking me for a year. I don't know.
Yeah, like, what's the period of time that like Americans were living like this?
Yeah.
With saloons and cowboy hats and riding fucking horses to the bar.
It's wild. I just, this set piece for
I'm really stuck on
for
this.
A horror movie is just awesome. You don't see it that much.
I know. I mean, we were just talking about how like looking at, footage from like times where you weren't alive is always like super crazy, right? And like, this is one of those things. Like, I can't imagine people actually living like this, and so it's blowing my mind. But anyway, keep going.
I know. Yeah, so they bring Samantha over to treat our boy David Arquette. She's escorted over there by Brooder. I love this character, Brooder, played by Matthew Fox.
Party of Five.
Yeah, and Lost.
Shit.
But he's super witty. He's really intelligent. You can tell like he has his shit together, but he's super arrogant and annoying as a result.
Kind of sounds like his character in Lost.
Yeah, no, I mean, he fits this.
And Party of Five.
He fits this role great. So all he's supposed to do is just escort Samantha over there so she can take care of this. But apparently it doesn't go as planned. Like,
nope.
She gets kidnapped by the troglodytes.
Crazy motherfuckers.
So now this is basically, the whole movie is about getting this rescue party together to go after her, right? Because her husband, Arthur, played by Patrick Wilson,
also great. He's got like this gruesome leg injury too to start, but now like his wife just got abducted, so he can barely walk, right? This is this guy's situation. This is like the old West, like you barely have pain medication. Yeah, I was gonna say, do they even have heroin?
I mean, he doesn't really even have a brace on it. Like, there's like almost no treatment for this fucking thing.
You're just literally like, you're supposed to sit home in bed until it heals and then figure it the fuck out later.
And your wife, who's the doctor of the town, is now kidnapped. So he's like, yeah, I have to go, and he can't fucking walk. So it's like, Jesus, what a horrific scenario right away. You're just walking to a suicide that you can barely walk.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have fucking phones. It's not like if something happens, you can call somebody to come get you. Like,
yeah, no.
You're just like, oh, well, looks like I'm stranded in the fucking desert by myself.
Yeah, this was like a time where situations like this would come up, and you're like, well, this is probably how I die.
Yeah, this is how it ends.
Because I don't have any other choice. Like, I have to go after my wife. Even if I don't do that, then she's gonna die, and then I'm gonna die from this leg injury because she can't treat it. Like, he literally can't have more of a motivation to go. Yeah,
fucked either way. Wow, miserable. I hate this. Thank God we live in 2021.
Oh my God. So yeah, Sheriff Hunt, played by Kurt Russell. He brings his buddy Chicory along, played by Richard Jenkins. I mean, this cast is just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And we even said, like, as the movie goes on, like, if they had just taken like 1 or 2 more guys, they would have been good.
Yeah.
Right. So they listened to this guy basically warn them about how dangerous this is. And like, you guys are going to die if you go. And they only bring 4 guys.
And one who has a bum leg.
Yeah. And one of them can barely walk. And you have to bring that guy because that's his wife.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, all right, dude, you're really going to fucking slow shit up for us. But
yeah, it's a good point. It's like you brought 3.5 guys.
Yeah.
Right. So they go through this whole spiel about how dangerous this is. And they can only spare 3.5 men to go out on this trip. When
meanwhile, the whole town's like livelihood is at risk because she's the doctor.
I mean, obviously, for the purposes of the movie, you can't have a giant,
cast.
Parade of people going, but
could have had at least 2 more. It would have been fine.
Yeah. What do you think of? I mean, because this movie is a little bit of a slow build, and you're not a big Western fan, I know. What did you think of the dialogue? Did it carry you through to the payoff at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience with Westerns. My grandfather was like, that's all he watched 24/7 growing up. It was always on. It was a nightmare. So that probably is where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I didn't even know there was enough of those films to watch that often. But Grandpa made it happen. So yeah, I mean, usually I don't do well with movies like this, but I really liked the dialogue here. I mean, I'll probably get attacked for this comment, but I think like it very much is reminiscent of like Tarantino and how he writes a script. And I liked that it wasn't so stuffy. It wasn't like really trying to make it like these people didn't have humor in their lives.
Yes.
And the humor was written and interjected in a way that made sense for the period.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't dry.
No.
It wasn't lost on you. Like you still laughed at the jokes and the way that they said things.
And a lot of them are subtle too. They're subtle little jokes.
Exactly. Like it felt like, okay, I'm really listening to a conversation during this time that has humor, has dread, right? Has fear, has logic, like whatever kind of thing they're talking through. You got everything and it didn't feel out of place.
100%. No, I think he absolutely nailed the dialogue. Yeah. And they nailed the casting too. I think every single one of these cast members really hit the right notes for what their character is supposed
100%.
to be. Like the role they're supposed to play is very well represented and filled.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a slow burn, right? It feels kind of like a throwback movie in a way. There's like a little bit of that 70s pacing to it. But I think it makes sense because for the most part, things are just like simple and quiet, right? They're just kind of traveling along, trying to get to their destination, trying to find this cave. And you just go through these periods where it's like, it's just them walking. Or it's just them camping out and sleeping and talking. Yeah. And that's the movie.
Because that's all that they could do. There's nothing like it's not like, oh, well, stumble on this 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee. Like, no, you're in the fucking desert. And like literally the vibe is I hate it here.
Right.
I hate it here so much. Like that's it. That's all you have.
And they don't go without hardship either, right? They get taken over by those bandits who kill their horses. They take their horses.
Yep. And now you're really fucked with your half a man.
Well, yeah, at that point, like his leg gets like super infected and stuff like that. Like I think they even tell him, like, we have to cut your leg off or you're not going to make it. Like this is like some Oregon Trail bullshit.
Right? I'm sorry, sir, you have dysentery. Yes. Marcus died of dysentery.
It's like we just have to, like, we just leave him here. Like, do we chop off his leg and like, I don't know. How do you can't stitch it up?
Yeah, like, I mean, horrifying. The whole thing is horrifying. Like I could not live in this time.
Oh my God. And I kind of like that though. I like that because there's so much brutality that hits you at the end. Like there is a payoff to that, like the horror part of it, which is, it was definitely needed to have that payoff. So
they did not skimp.
Yeah, no, they don't skimp on it. But the whole lead up to it, I think, makes the brutality feel even bigger. It gives it's like more larger than life because it was really the main action you got from the movie is all sort of just like buried at the end of the film. Yeah,
agreed. It's like, it's that slow. I'm trying to think of, there's a movie that it reminds me of and I can't think of what it is. But anyway, that it is that like you have to be willing to watch a real story unfold and it not be just like throwaway plot to get to like crazy kill scenes, right? It's actually a real plot to listen to and follow that gets you to some crazy kill scenes.
Yeah. And as far as plot goes, like it is a pretty straightforward linear, like, okay, you know, girl kidnapped, go get and rescue girl, right? But the weight of these characters, like, you feel like you know them by the end of the movie. Like, they all are very well thought out. So because they feel like real people going through this very real situation, it doesn't matter that the plot is so simple because the characters are so complex.
Right.
So let's talk about those troglodyte scenes at the end, because first of all, how cool is the bone tomahawk itself?
Insane.
Right? Because these things are like, I don't know. I mean, they all look like they're 6'5" at least, right? They're all humongous people.
Yep. They're like gigantuan.
And they have like...
Gargantuan.
Gigantuan or gargantuan?
I corrected myself.
Either one. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
But they're, you know, some of them have like those body mods, right? He's got like the tusks that are like embedded into his skin. Like, these guys look gnarly.
Yeah. Like I said, they didn't skimp. This is what I would expect the ultimate reveal of these types of mythical creatures will say, right? Because the whole thing is like, this is what they are, and no one's lived to tell the tale kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's what I expect something that was attacking me and I wasn't going to live to tell the tale look like.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, they definitely look terrifying. They're super powerful. Like, they overpower them
so easily.
Pretty much right away. Like, they find the cave, and before they know it, like, they're getting bombarded with arrows, right? Guys are running at them with the bone tomahawk in their hand, taking slices. I mean, this is how they get Bruder. They get him pretty much right away. He actually gets the bone tomahawk thrown into his skull. That's how he meets his end. Jesus Christ.
Just the name Bone Tomahawk, like, fuck.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, you know, the sheriff and Chicory get kidnapped as a result of this. Like, they just get overpowered and that's it. They're up in that fucking cave with these troglodytes and they're not ever leaving.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly like brutes over brains. 100%. They're like, it doesn't matter how smart you are, you're not winning.
No. Although they do manage to take out, I think, like 3 or 4 of them before they get kidnapped.
Yeah.
And put in that little cage thing in the cave, which that thing is cool too. It's like this makeshift thing with like a log that they hammer into the stone.
So
it's
bizarre.
Very wild.
Details.
Yeah. But oh my goodness, just this fucking scene. I think is probably the most famous scene. Is what they do to this guy, Deputy Nick, right? Because when they get up there in the cages, they see Samantha, right? She's in a cage across the cave from them. Yeah. With the deputy that was with her. Like, he got kidnapped alongside her. Yep. So what do they do to this poor guy? They pull him out. They strip him down. They scalp him. Right?
Step by step.
When they were scalping him, you were having a hard time.
I couldn't. Yeah. I mean, even right now, you're talking about it. I'm like, God damn it. Yeah. And that's like a real split in half scenario. Like, I mean,
they chop him in half from his asshole. Like, they hang him upside down. They hold him like a wishbone.
Right through his ass crack.
Yeah. And they just take the bone tomahawk and just chop him in half by his ass.
Oh my God. Just the sounds and the
sound is great.
The sound of the body splitting.
Oh my God. The bone snap. Yeah. When I first heard that in the office, I just kept playing it. It was like the most satisfying sound.
Ew.
When that shot came, I was like, oh my God, this is wild.
That whole thing. It's a lot. But again, that's the payoff. Like, you sat through this whole movie and it's like, yo, I don't even need to see anything else. That's it. I'm good. You scalped him. You split his fucking ass in half. I'm good. Like, this is a lot.
Well, then they
show the inside part of it well. Like, it's not like they hide from like.
Yeah, no, there's like guts and shit that spill out.
Yeah, the guts pour out. Oof, fuck. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's not a good way to go.
Yeah.
But then they fuck up Kurt Russell too. Yeah. They pull him out. They slash him with the bone tomahawk in his stomach. They heat up his flask. Yep. And they stick it in his gut. Oh my God.
It's like cauterizing the slash with the hot flask, which means, I don't know if you know, if the actual flask is metal and it's super hot like that, and you stick it in the wound, the skin is immediately going to attach to it.
Yep.
And like scar to it.
Yep.
Fuck that.
You'll never imagine ripping that out.
Like, anybody want some whiskey?
Oh my
What a
God.
party trick that is.
I mean, just tremendously painful. And then the troglodyte gets a hold of his little repeater rifle thing.
Yeah.
And I love this. Like he's never seen a gun before, so he's just like trying to figure out how do I orient this thing? What does it do?
That's like he doesn't know. They don't know to like reload it, right? Isn't that the whole thing in this scene?
Well, I think first he's playing with it and it fires, and he recognizes that it fires, and then he's like trying to play around with like pulling things, and he accidentally reloads the gun.
Yeah.
But ends up shooting Kurt Russell. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Insane. And then he just sacrifices himself, takes one for the team. He's like, just give me that. What is it? The gun? Yeah. He goes, give me the gun, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think he gets the bone tomahawk while he's laying on the ground. He's like about to die.
Yeah. He has that.
And he chops the troglodyte's foot off. And then that's when Patrick Wilson emerges out of nowhere and shoots him down and like.
Yeah. And he's like, can't leave you here kind of thing. And they're like, no, it's the end, pal. Like, this is where I die.
Yeah, I think they leave him with dynamite to blow up the cave.
Was it the dynamite? I know he said, just pass me something. He says.
I think it was. Well, yeah, he has. They give him the pistol as like self-defense in case one of them comes in. But he's meant, I think, to blow up the dynamite to blow up the cave.
Right, so that they're all gone.
To kill the rest of them. Yeah. But yeah, no, I always love this movie. It's such a cool movie. And it is this weird like Western horror mix up that like you just don't see. So I was like, I just always had a soft spot for this one.
Yeah, if you stumble on it, right, you're like, what is this? And you're watching it, it just
I
seems
think it
like
might be on Amazon
Western.
Prime right now.
Oh yeah, I think it is. I think we did see it on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like for someone who stumbles on it and doesn't know that it's a horror, like you watch it thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna watch some like
no, I highly recommend it.
Present day Western, you know? And then it's like, oh no, this is going to get crazy.
No, it's great. It's so well acted, so well directed, so well paced.
Yep.
All right. So let's move on to our final segment here, 50-50.
Woo! Can't wait to lose.
Can't wait to lose. Once again, this is the second time we played this game, but the rules are I'm going to give you 2 movie titles.
Great.
One is a real horror movie, and one I just made up.
All right. See if we're on the same wavelength.
All right. So is the real movie Hell Baby or Dr. Death?
I'm going to just go instinct, Dr. Death.
Is the real movie? No. Hell Baby is the real movie.
Jesus. They both sound awful.
I knew Dr. Death would be a good pairing with that one because Dr. Death does feel like it should be a movie.
That feels, like, all right, I'd be intrigued enough to watch it. Hell Baby, I'm like, okay, this is dumb.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah, Dr. Death actually could be a cool sounding movie.
That's what I mean. It's like, I got to start thinking, like, if it sounds bad, it probably is real.
All right. Is it Inhuman Witch, like a sandwich, or Stay Off My Lawn?
Part of me thinks that this is an homage to me as a person. So I'm going to go with the first one that I can't pronounce is real.
Inhuman Witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the real movie.
You like how I knew you were just trying to get me?
You know, I got to try to drop you some hints every now and then.
For those listening, it's because I have an ongoing feud in my neighborhood with the fact that parents let their children run all over our lawn and throw their Capri Suns and candy wrappers everywhere.
You're the curmudgeon yelling,
I'm the
stay
curmudgeon.
off my lawn.
That's how I knew. That one was definitely fake.
I'll have to write a horror short called Stay Off My Lawn, and that'll be the concept is about you killing people that come onto your lawn.
Yeah. This is your Capri Sun, kid. Hope you enjoyed it. It's the last one.
Yeah. I think it's a solid concept.
Okay.
All right. Next one. Is it Pajama Party Parasites or I Was a Teenage Were-Skunk?
What?
Pajama Party Parasites or I Was a Teenage Were-Skunk?
Oh my God. I have so many questions. Pajama Party?
No.
Fuck.
I Was a Teenage Were-Skunk is the real movie.
Kill me. What the? They're both awful.
Mm-hmm. Pajama Party Parasites. Are you impressed with that name?
I am actually, because I'm like, these are both equally awful movies I'd never watch.
Okay, next one. Dude. Is it Killer Piñata or Mrs. Wilson's Lullaby?
Mrs. Wilson's Lullaby.
Nope.
What the fuck?
Killer Piñata is the real movie.
I'm bowing out. This is bad. I'm terrible at this.
I listen, I don't blame you because these are awful. These are some names, man.
Where the fuck did you find these?
All right, I dug deep for these because I'm running out. There's like I've really run through the depths of
clearly
ill-named horror.
By the way, for those watching on YouTube, this dog cannot not get attention.
Yeah. And
so I stopped petting him for 2 seconds, and he's like, "Oh, well, off to this other lap."
Go to Dad's lap.
I can't.
All right. Is it The Greasy Strangler or Mummy Night? As in like a night.
Mummy Night, like knight in shining armor?
Yeah.
Jesus.
The Greasy Strangler or Mummy Night?
Mummy Night.
No.
Oh my God.
The Greasy Strangler is the real movie.
Stop. What is wrong with, how do people get money for this?
I mean, you're liking my titles better, so maybe I should start writing these.
Who's watching The Greasy Strangler?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it.
I want to know
I just thought
exact
it was a hilarious
box office
name.
dollars on this movie. Like, are people actually paying for this?
I don't even know where you could watch it. Maybe Shudder has it. I don't know.
God, I don't want to watch it. I just want to know if actually other people are watching it.
Yeah. That's kind of exactly my take on it, too.
Crazy. Okay.
Okay, last one.
Yes.
Is it A Demon Named Dan or Carousel? Like instead of a carousel, it's Carousel.
I hope it's Carousel.
Is the real movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's Carousel.
All right. That one I'd maybe fuck with a little bit.
You would watch Carousel?
I don't know. I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, I mean,
Carnival.
It's not the worst name.
Yeah. It tells me it's a carnival. There's probably some clown fuckery.
Yeah.
Or like carny.
I wouldn't go into it expecting too much.
I mean, no, obviously. But I'm just saying, out of the entire list of the real options, that's the one.
All right.
Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, snap. I'm terrible.
Well, I mean, I think you probably did as well as you did last time. I don't think you regressed.
No, I got more right the last time. I only got one right on this one.
Really? You only got one
two.
right?
I only got two. I got Inhuman Witch and I got Carousel.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
You did regress.
I did terrible.
All right.
Oh, wow.
We should come up with a head-to-head for next time.
Yeah, we need a new head-to-head.
Yeah, that would be a fun one to do.
I have some ideas.
All right.
Well, quite the episode.
Indeed.
3 movies in this one.
3 filmies.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe next week will be Leprechaun. Maybe it won't.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. But until then, remember,
we don't give awards for art.